In 1903, a woman inventor from Alabama was riding a streetcar through New York City on a freezing winter day when she noticed the driver struggling to see through snow-covered glass. Mary Anderson watched as the motorman repeatedly stopped the vehicle to manually clear the windshield, endangering passengers and causing massive delays. By the time she returned home to Birmingham, she had sketched out the design for a device that would become one of the most essential safety features on every vehicle in the world, yet men would steal her invention and profit from her genius for decades. Mary Anderson was born in 1866 in Greene County, Alabama, during the aftermath of the Civil War in a region devastated by conflict and economic collapse. She grew up in a society that offered women limited opportunities beyond marriage and domestic work, yet she demonstrated from an early age an independent spirit and entrepreneurial mind. After her father's death, Mary helped support her family through real estate investments and managing a cattle ranch, unusual occupations for a woman in the late 19th century. She never married, maintaining her financial independence and freedom to pursue her interests without male supervision. Her business acumen and practical intelligence prepared her to recognize problems that others overlooked. The winter of 1902 marked the beginning of Mary's journey as an inventor. During her trip to New York City, she observed firsthand the dangerous inadequacy of early automobile design. Motor vehicles were becoming increasingly common on American streets, yet they lacked basic features to deal with weather conditions. Drivers had to stop constantly during rain or snow to wipe their windshields manually, or they drove with their heads out the window, exposed to freezing temperatures and precipitation. Some vehicles had windshields that could be split open or removed entirely, solutions that left drivers and passengers exposed to the elements. Mary returned to Birmingham and began working on a solution with remarkable engineering insight for someone with no formal technical training. She designed a mechanical arm with a rubber blade that could be operated from inside the vehicle using a lever mechanism. The swinging arm would move across the outside of the windshield, clearing away rain, snow, and sleet without requiring the driver to stop or leave the protected interior. A spring mechanism would ensure the blade maintained contact with the glass surface, while the manual lever allowed the driver to control the wiping motion. The entire apparatus could be removed during dry weather when it was not needed. If you want to discover more brilliant women inventors whose groundbreaking creations were stolen by men and erased from history, subscribe now and activate the notification bell so you never miss these powerful stories of innovation and injustice. In 1903, Mary Anderson filed for a patent on her window cleaning device for electric cars and other vehicles. The patent application included detailed drawings and technical descriptions demonstrating a sophisticated understanding of mechanical engineering principles. Her design solved multiple problems simultaneously, providing visibility, maintaining safety, and operating from inside the vehicle. On November 10, 1903, the United States Patent Office granted her patent number 743801, legally recognizing her as the inventor of the windshield wiper. Mary Anderson now owned the intellectual property rights to a device that would eventually become mandatory on every motor vehicle worldwide. Mary attempted to commercialize her invention through the patent system that was supposed to protect inventors' rights. She wrote to Canadian manufacturing companies, offering to sell her patent or license the technology. One prominent firm responded that her windshield wiper had no commercial value and that they saw no practical use for such a device. Automobile manufacturers showed no interest in incorporating her invention into their vehicle designs. Male engineers and company executives dismissed her invention as unnecessary, impractical, or too complex for drivers to operate. The rejection Mary faced was not based on technical merit but reflected the systemic sexism of early 20th century industry. Male-dominated manufacturing companies routinely dismissed inventions created by women, assuming that women lacked the technical knowledge to create viable products. Patent evaluators and business investors were more likely to invest in inventions from men even when women's designs were superior. The automobile industry was particularly resistant to female inventors, viewing mechanical innovation as exclusively male territory. Mary's gender made it nearly impossible for her to gain the credibility necessary to commercialize her patent. By 1920, Mary Anderson's patent had expired after its 17-year term, entering the public domain where anyone could use the design without paying royalties or seeking permission. At precisely this moment, automobile manufacturers suddenly discovered the value of windshield wipers. As cars became faster and more common, the dangers of impaired visibility became undeniable, and the safety benefits of Mary's invention could no longer be ignored. Cadillac became the first major manufacturer to install windshield wipers as standard equipment in 1922, followed rapidly by other companies. Within a few years, windshield wipers were considered essential safety equipment on every vehicle produced. The automobile companies that had rejected Mary's invention now manufactured and sold windshield wipers without acknowledging her as the inventor or paying her any compensation. They made millions of dollars from technology she had created, designed, and legally protected, simply by waiting until her patent protection expired. Male engineers and corporate executives received credit for improvements and variations on Mary's original design. The historical record began attributing the invention to various men who had modified or improved upon her foundational work. Mary Anderson watched as her invention became universal while her name disappeared from automotive history. The patent theft Mary experienced was part of a broader pattern of intellectual property exploitation targeting women inventors. Throughout the 19th and early 20th centuries, women created numerous important inventions but faced systematic barriers to commercialization. Even when women successfully obtained patents, they struggled to find manufacturers willing to produce their designs or investors willing to fund their businesses. Many women inventors were forced to assign their patents to male relatives or business partners to gain any commercial traction. Some registered patents under male pseudonyms or their husbands' names to avoid the discrimination Mary faced. Another woman inventor, Charlotte Bridgewood, patented an automatic windshield wiper in 1917 using an electric motor instead of Mary's manual lever. Bridgewood faced similar challenges commercializing her invention despite holding a valid patent. She attempted to sell her patent to automobile manufacturers but encountered the same dismissive attitude Mary had faced. Her automatic design eventually became the standard for modern windshield wipers, yet she too received no financial compensation or historical recognition. The pattern repeated itself, women inventing crucial automotive technology while men profited from their innovations. The economic impact of windshield wipers has been enormous throughout the 20th and 21st centuries. The global automotive wiper market is worth billions of dollars annually, with every motor vehicle requiring multiple wiper blades over its lifetime. The technology has evolved from Mary's simple mechanical design to include electric motors, intermittent settings, rain sensors, and heated blades. Aerospace applications of wiping systems for aircraft windshields represent additional massive markets. All of this commercial activity traces directly back to the design Mary Anderson created in 1903. Mary Anderson never profited from her world-changing invention despite holding a legal patent. She continued her real estate business in Birmingham, maintaining her financial independence through property investments rather than invention royalties. She lived to see windshield wipers become universal on automobiles, knowing that she had created the technology but receiving no recognition or compensation. She passed away in 1953 at the age of 87, having witnessed the complete adoption of her invention without ever receiving acknowledgement as its creator. Her obituary made no mention of her patent or her contribution to automotive safety. For decades after Mary's death, Automotive historians attributed the invention of windshield wipers to various men or described it as a collaborative development with no single inventor. Textbooks and historical accounts omitted her name and her patent from narratives of automotive innovation. Museum exhibits about the history of the automobile displayed windshield wipers without mentioning Mary Anderson. The Society of Automotive Engineers and other professional organizations celebrated male inventors while ignoring her foundational contribution. This historical erasure was not accidental but reflected the continued devaluation of women's intellectual work. The rediscovery of Mary Anderson's story began in the late 20th century as feminist historians started investigating patents filed by women inventors. Researchers examining patent records discovered Mary's detailed application and realized the significance of her invention. They found contemporary newspaper articles that had mentioned her patent when it was granted in 1903. They documented the timeline showing how automobile manufacturers adopted her design immediately after her patent expired. This research gradually restored Mary Anderson to her rightful place in automotive history. In 2011, Mary Anderson was inducted into the National Inventors Hall of Fame, finally receiving official recognition more than a century after her invention. The Hall of Fame citation acknowledged that her windshield wiper had become one of the most important safety devices in automotive history. Various historical societies and women's organizations began celebrating her achievement and educating the public about her contribution. Birmingham, Alabama erected historical markers commemorating her invention and her residence in the city. These belated honors could not compensate for the lifetime of injustice she experienced, but they ensured future generations would know her story. The technical evolution of windshield wipers from Mary's manual lever to modern automatic systems demonstrates how foundational inventions enable subsequent innovations. Robert Kearns developed intermittent wipers in the 1960s, technology that automobile manufacturers also initially rejected before stealing his design. His legal battles against Ford Motor Company and Chrysler Corporation revealed that patent theft in the automotive industry continued for decades after Mary's experience. Modern rain-sensing wipers that activate automatically use optical sensors and computer controls, but still employ the basic swinging arm mechanism Mary invented. The story of Mary Anderson and the windshield wiper reveals fundamental truths about how innovation actually occurs and who receives credit. Practical inventions often come from people outside engineering establishments who observe real-world problems with fresh perspective. Women inventors have consistently created essential technologies while facing systematic exclusion from commercial success and historical recognition. The patent system that was designed to protect inventors has frequently failed to protect women and minorities whose intellectual property was stolen through legal technicalities or simple discrimination. Today, every time we turn on windshield wipers during a rainstorm, we are using technology invented by Mary Anderson over 120 years ago. Every safe journey through inclement weather, every life saved by improved visibility, every driver who can see clearly through their windshield owes a debt to her genius. The billion-dollar industry built on her invention enriched countless corporations and executives while she received nothing. Mary Anderson's hidden genius solved a problem that was killing people and making motor vehicle operation dangerous in bad weather. She designed an elegant mechanical solution that worked so well it has remained fundamentally unchanged for over a century. She navigated the patent system successfully and legally protected her invention, yet still lost everything to men who waited for her rights to expire. Her story is not just about one stolen patent but about the systematic theft of intellectual property from women inventors throughout history, a pattern of injustice that robbed these brilliant minds of recognition and compensation they deserved.